Hello and welcome back to my video podcast. I'm Keith R. Reese and this is episode 13 of my podcast, and I've been asked to do a follow-up on Legend at LANANA Creek, my latest novel that came out in January, and to give a little bit more detail on that book. And the book we're talking about today is this one, Legend at LANANA Creek. And tomorrow I am driving out to Nacogdoches, where this book is set. And I'm going to do the book launch at the local bookstore downtown called the Boss Light. And hopefully lots of people will be there on this Saturday at the bookstore that afternoon. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. And today's podcast is to give a little bit more detail about this book and how it relates to its predecessor, which was my first novel back in 2008. I wrote it in 2007 and was released in 2008. It's called Legend Upon the Cane. And the two books are related because of the legend of the two twin brothers that I have written about. Supposedly that these two brothers is where Natchitoches, Louisiana, and Nacogdoches, Texas have gotten their names. And the legend has been going around since the 1930s. And I have to make note that I failed to do in the book, and I do apologize if it ruffles any feathers. The legend originated in the 1930s as a ploy to drum up tourism in Nacogdoches by a person named R.B. Blake. And the idea was, I think they held a contest to see who could write an essay or a paper that would be a way to try and attract tourism to the area after the Great Depression. And this person came up with the ingenious story, or legend I should say, of the two twin brothers that supposedly on the banks of the Sabine River, which is the dividing line between Louisiana and Texas, Chief Caddo, on his deathbed, told his two twin brothers, Natchitoches and Nacogdoches, to split the tribe up as a means to protect themselves from the oncoming immigration from the old world of newcomers. The New World expansion, so to speak, of explorers, soldiers. And he said, we need to preserve our tribe, and I want you, Nacogdoches, to take half the tribe west and walk for 3 days, and where you end up after 3 days is where you should settle and raise a tribe. And Natchitoches should go east for 3 days and do the same wherever they stop. And of course, the factual events do put a tribe of Natchitoches Indians in the Cane River area, which became Natchitoches, and that became the settlement in 1714, along with the French explorers led by Louis de Saint-Denis. And those events are detailed in the first book from 2008, Legend Upon the Cane. And now the second book, Legend at LANANA Creek, does give more detail about Nacogdoches, or his name in the book is Nacahodot. And I had no intention at the beginning to do a second book, but as time went on, more people began to read the first book, which I'm very grateful for. And also my mother did a book club using the first book, Legend Upon the Cane, and the ladies in her club read it and they discussed it. And the biggest question that came out of that book club was, when are you going to write about the second brother? And so that was a challenge, and I'm going, okay, maybe I should start doing some research on Nacogdoches. And I did about a year's worth of research on this book. And starting writing it, after visiting Nacogdoches about a year ago, I even did a trip up the old El Camino Real, which is Highway 21 in East Texas, and there's all kinds of historic signs on the side of the road that give you lots of good information. So I stopped at each one and read them all and took notes and did more research when I reached Nacogdoches and spent a couple days there. The book picks up kind of where the first one starts. I felt the first book didn't give enough detail on the brothers themselves and their childhood and their teen years and their relationship with their parents and with each other as well, and their friends that they grew up with. And so I go into more detail in the second book on their childhood and leading up to the death of their parents, which happened in succession in the story. And the tribe is split up, and we followed Nakahodo eastward to the Piney Woods and what is now Nacogdoches, between these two creeks called LANANA and Bonita Creeks. And I also go into how these two creeks got their names, supposedly. And that part is fiction as well. I may be way off in how those two creeks got their names, but for the purpose of this story, it is described on how those names came about after doing much research on what the names mean. And so it follows several decades of this man's life, Nakahodo, and his encounters with some French explorers, but mainly Spanish explorers, since he's in the Texas area. And it also gives the origins of the name Texas itself. It was a greeting that the Hasinai or the Caddo Indians used whenever they encountered newcomers. They would call out "Techas, Techas." And over time, the Spanish explorers tried to translate this in their own way, and they were saying Tejas, Tejas. And as time went on, they would describe it in their journals as the Tejas people and also the Tejas territory. And there is some amusing parts in the book using a translator. There is a character that I created called Bear Trapper, and he is kind of a mixture of, he's a loner, he's a source of comic relief. He and Nakahodo have a playful back and forth about the color of Nakahodo's hair. It's told in the legend by C.B. Blake that Natchitoches, the leader of the Natchitoches tribe, had dark hair, dark shimmering black hair, and Nakahodo had blonde hair or light hair. And Bear Trapper is always teasing Nakahodo about his light hair. And it's a running gag throughout the book. And he also kind of serves as a character that you might want to say from the commercials that we have right now from Hotels.com. Bear Trapper is kind of the Captain Obvious of the people. He points out things very bluntly and very astutely, and he's also very wise. And the connection between the two books is obviously Saint Denis, and many people may not know, he was the founder of Natchitoches in 1714. It's known as the oldest settlement in Louisiana Purchase. But he also had a hand factually. This is a historical fact that he was asked by the Spanish government or the Spanish viceroy in Mexico City to be a part of the Spanish missions that created what is now known as several locations in Texas. And the first one was the Spanish mission at Nacogdoches, which was called Our Lady of Guadalupe. And he was present and had a hand in that mission. And that's how the stories are the two stories are linked together, is by that character. And so it is a sequel, in a sense, to the first book. And it ends in 1716, when the mission is successfully created in Nacogdoches, and that lays the foundation for the oldest settlement in Texas, which was in 1779. And so I don't go into the details of how the town became a settlement then with Gil Barvo, which was the town founder of Nacogdoches. It does end in 1716 because mainly the two stories are about the two brothers, the legendary twin brothers. And so I'm going to do the book launch in Nacogdoches this Saturday. The book is called Legend at LANANA Creek, and I hope a lot of people enjoy it and get to read it. And I enjoyed doing all the research and writing the story, and now it's going to be even more fun trying to get more attention to the book and get more readers. And I will be going to Nacogdoches again in June this summer, they have the annual Blueberry Festival, and I'll be there on the street trying to attract more attention to my books and try and sell some books and get more readers there at the festival this summer. So hope everyone enjoys the book, and that's more about Legend at LANANA Creek. Thanks for watching, and happy reading. Thank you.